Oh,
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Game Junction Podcast. This is episode 96.
that's this many.
He held up all 10 fingers for those listening on the audio for some strange, odd reason. But hey, that much closer to episode 100. I know that's the big 100 triple digits. Some might say over the hill. If you're thinking about someone's age or something like that. But no, I just want to welcome everybody. We've got some mixture of good and I guess you could say sad stuff coming up. Obviously, we got some news about a new Halloween game coming up. Some Paramount television studio news coming. Obviously, if you've not already heard, and we'll get into that just in a second, the Pokemon voice actress Rachael Lillis, if I didn't mispronounce her last name, had recently passed away at the age of 55. And obviously some other, important stuff about the Tango Gameworks being acquired by Xbox, and a bunch of other various news and stuff coming up. But also wanted to appreciate everybody that's watching here live on either the Twitch or the YouTube. I want to appreciate everybody that's supporting channel membership, supporting the Patreon, that's following us on any of our social medias over on Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, X, and TikTok. I didn't forget that one.
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, trying to get a little bit better about that for sure.
No, you're doing great. Yeah, I did want to mention also off the top, some more big news is we did have more layoffs from a company that we've already announced layoffs from this year. So we do have some more big AAA company layoffs to discuss, and the future of that company.
Yeah, always some good news going on, but yeah, no, it's been not too bad. It actually kind of felt like some fall weather yesterday, surprisingly. Had some rain come through. It was mid-60s with a cool breeze. I'm sitting here, I'm like, yeah, it's mid-August, but I'm ready for fall to get here. I'm tired of this 89-degree weather.
Yeah, we had some fall-like weather the other day. We didn't today. Today was hot, but we had some fall-like weather the other day, and I took full advantage of it. I went out for a walk. I did what I could. Some yard work and stuff, outside things that needed done, some organizing in the shed that needed done, just outside stuff as much as I could. I love fall. I love that weather. And it was like one of the few days we've had like that so far. So took advantage of it.
Only for it to get nice and hot the next day, at least it was for me. Nice, hot, sunny mid-80s. I was like, oh.
Yep.
It was in the mid-70s early this week, but I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah. A little bit here or there, but the problem was I had the nice weather, but it was rainy and windy, so I couldn't really do anything. It was kind of like, oh, this is nice. Now I got to go back inside.
Well, we've got that today, so that's fun.
Yeah, definitely. But no, I guess we can just get right into our little first discussion, because obviously Rachael Lillis, that's how you properly pronounce your last name, had recently just passed away at the age of 55. And obviously, if you haven't seen it, she's most well known for her voice actor work in the Pokemon anime for both, I believe it was Misty and the Team Rocket villain that I'm immediately blanking on the name of.
Jessie,
yeah. It's been a hot second since I've seen it.
But she did more than she did a lot. I think she did Jigglypuff as well.
Yeah. I know she did a lot. Those are like the two big roles that she did that people most likely know her for. And obviously, she's been in voice acting for several years at this point, so she's done a lot of work, but that's what she's most well known for.
Yeah, so I mean, with what we know, she was 55, which I mean is still too young, and she's battling breast cancer. So, very unfortunate. The cancer, but especially breast cancer in the family, the women in my family is very prominent, and my great grandma's died from that. My grandma's had breast cancer 3 times and has somehow still survived. So it hits home a lot. I've had a lot of other family members and stuff pass from it as well, but I did want to read a quote here. Well, this was a tweet from Veronica Taylor. We all know Veronica Taylor, the voice of Ash Ketchum. She said, "We all know Rachael Lillis from the many wonderful roles that she played. She filled our Saturday mornings before after school hours with her beautiful voice, her terrific comic timing, and her remarkable acting skills. Hashtag Rachael Lillis. And then in the official tweets, it said, it is with a heavy heart that I share on the news of the passing of Rachael Lillis on Saturday evening, August 10th. It's August 16th today, so this happened about a week ago from this live recording. Rachael was an extraordinary talent, a bright light that shone through her voice. Whether speaking or singing, she will be forever remembered for the many animated roles she played, with her iconic performances as Pokemon's Misty and Jessie being the most beloved. Rachael was so thankful for all of the generous love and support that was given to her as she battled with cancer. It truly made a positive difference. Her family also wishes to thank you as they take this time to grieve privately. A memorial is being planned for a future date. So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's such a bummer because what it really is that, you know, it just shows we're getting older. These people that were, you know, voicing things that were for our generation, things that we loved, are passing away, are moving away from it, can no longer do it. Veronica Taylor doesn't even voice Ash anymore. She did the last episode, I think we reported on it maybe early this year or late last year. I can't remember.
Yes, somewhere in that time frame at the very least.
Yeah, I remember talking about it. So it's sad. It's sad. I mean, what's some of your memories with you know, as far as like her with their voice of Misty and, you know, some of the things of watching the anime and different stuff like that?
Mainly, very obviously, just her role as Misty and Jessie in the Pokemon show, which I haven't really watched a whole lot in recent years, pretty obviously, but definitely when I was younger. And then one of the other big roles, at least I know her from, was she voice acted Yuriko Star in the Irresponsible Captain Tyler anime, which, if you're not aware, it's kind of comedic and stuff like that. But she was like one of the, I can't remember if she was like the second or third in command of him and his little antics, and she tried to like reel him in to a failing degree a lot of the times. But that's really the only two roles that I definitely remember her from. I know she did a lot of other work. It's just not a lot of stuff that I've actually seen. But I mean, try to find, you know, a little bit of, it's a very sad situation, but one of the first things I remembered back to was a clip that I'd seen on social media, maybe in the past few years, because I don't know how old it is, of Ash just being brutal or ripping on, especially Misty's the character, where she would say something, he had like immediate comeback or something like that to diss her. So in a sad situation, gives you know, something to be grateful for, because, you know, it's sad to pass away. She left behind a lot of good, not only memories, but, you know, a lot of good works that people can still enjoy for years to come.
Yeah, well, some of my favorite actually was thinking about Jigglypuff getting mad that they would fall asleep and then scribble all over their faces, and Ash and Misty would wake up with like X's and O's over their eyes and stuff like that. I always loved the Jigglypuff song, and always getting mad that they fell asleep every single time. And it's like, you think about it, like the name of the move is called Sing.
Oh yeah,
just sings and falls asleep. No, I also think back to Misty always getting so angry at Ash and getting that that anime trope face, you know, where the yelling type face, she would always get like that, and Ash is always you're nagging too much, why are you always nagging? Type of thing. There were so many like episodes that were like that. And then I think of you know, Misty and Staryu, and Starmie always instantly comes to mind. I think back to like the first Pokemon movie, how Misty was kind of portrayed differently in the first Pokemon movie than she was like in the anime, because it was a little more serious of a film, if you will. Because if you remember, you know, Ash got turned to stone and you thought Ash was going to die and things like that, and it was like, it had a more serious tone to it, so it was a time you got to see Misty with more serious tone, because she was always, you know, getting angry and complaining she was hungry and all the things that people say about women, I guess. She was all balled up. So
no, yeah, definitely.
That's what I think of. And, you know, 55 isn't really isn't that old, and especially in 2024, 55 is really like the new 30. I mean, if we're being real, like it just seems that way. Like 55 when we were a kid would feel like they were like, you know, an old grandpa. But like, yeah, you're not. I mean, like, you know, I got, yeah, like my stepdad's around 55. You doesn't look like a grandpa at all. And she definitely, you know, she looked really good and stuff for her age, even with breast cancer from the last photo that I saw of her. So, you know, respects to her family, and, you know, definitely appreciative of the good memories that she left behind for us, and these shows that'll last, you know, forever and for generations to come.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, for sure. But I mean, like everything else, it's unfortunate, but you can be sad and, you know, look at the positive at the same time. Though it's not as depressing to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously, you know, prayers to her family and everything else that well, she's brought joy to a lot of people. You know, her family's gonna be the ones that have to actually deal with this firsthand. So, you know, obviously, you know, thoughts, prayers out to them, and have to take care of everything.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, but yeah, like you said, you know, hopefully the family gets some time to grieve, and you know, that celebration of life is going to be happening. So
yeah, but
what do we got next?
We can say depressing if you really want to, or depressing-ish. So obviously, it's not the first time that we've gotten news from Ubisoft laying off employees. But Ubisoft just came out and said, hey, we're letting go, or not letting go, laying off 45 US-based employees in a cost-cutting move, from what they've said. This is technically their second round of layoffs this year alone. Obviously, it's not a big, like 200 to like 1,000 people, but I mean, it's, you know, still 45 people that are losing their jobs because Ubisoft keeps making bad games and, you know, losing money. At least that's how I look at it.
It's so hard to say anything. It's Ubisoft. I mean, I'm not surprised with more bad news from Ubisoft. It's the general consensus. It seems like the new Assassin's Creed is an ever-flowing stream of bad news and negativity, and people ranting online. Do you think this is directly related to that?
No, because the game's not out yet, so we don't have numbers. We don't know what's going to actually happen. It could be obvious them trying to get ahead of other stuff, or these could have been planned for a while. They just waited till now, or they're just kind of like, we laid off all these people, and I was like, oh, our numbers are getting where we need them to be. Let's lay off X amount of other people, and then we'll get where we want our numbers to be. I don't know what their internal projections are going to be for Assassin's Creed Shadows, but obviously, that they obviously need that game to do well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't have the numbers pulled up. I don't know if they've released like how much they actually spent on this money from both just the game and the advertising. But I guarantee they already have internal numbers of what they expect to sell, and probably what they need to sell to make a profit, and what they obviously want to sell. So obviously they need this. I mean, some people could say, you know, any press is good press. I would say yes and no. It's very situational. But I guess only time will tell. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this game doesn't hit this game could make money, but it doesn't hit exactly what they want profit wise, and it could lead to more layoffs down the road, because they're kind of like, okay, we need to change it, or we didn't make enough money and you're cutting into our profits, and our shareholders don't like that, so you're gonna get the axe. Essentially, it's always a possibility.
Yeah, and then I was, you know, this is Ubisoft's San Francisco, so we already know that California, and I'm sorry for anybody that lives in California, but it's kind of a crap hole right now. It's an absolute infestation crap hole. Again, I apologize if you live there, but it just truly, there's a lot of problems there. And it looks like 500 employees. So I mean, that's a pretty big chunk, and
Yeah.
you know, it includes marketing, sales, business development, communications, finance, licensing, creative, and game development. These are all things that could be taken over and done more precisely with AI, especially the everything. I mean, obviously game development could be too, but everything prior to that, all of that could be accomplished easily by AI right now. Like right now, it doesn't even need to be. It's ever growing and getting better, but I mean, when you're talking about marketing, communications, finance, licensing, creative, all of that can be done with AI, and we know that's going to happen. So I mean, they're cutting in sales, business development, like it's you know, and they've done good stuff. They did the Rocksmith series, South Park and the Fractured Butthole, which was a fantastic game. I love that game. I think it's a great Ubisoft title.
One of the last good games they made, arguably.
I wouldn't say it was the last good one, but it's definitely it's around that time period. I would say it's a great game. It's a good game.
We've had other Assassin's Creed games, but they've kind of started to, hey, we found one formula, it's new with like one game, and then they just copy and paste it over and over again, and the gameplay kind of gets stale. But that's how I felt about it between Origins and Odyssey. They somewhat changed it up with Origins, and then they just feel like they just redid the same thing with minor tweaks here there with Odyssey, and the same thing again with Valhalla. But that's just my take on it.
I like Valhalla. I'll defend the fact that I just enjoyed it. I'm not necessarily saying it was a fantastic game or anything like that. Although I will say Lucas messaged me, and he had started it just recently, and he's like, wow, this is like, you know, this is a really good game. I haven't really heard anybody talk about it. And that's the thing. I don't really hear people talk about it. I don't hear bad things. I just don't hear people talk about it.
That's how I felt about it, because I dropped it after only a few hours. It just feels
there's too much.
The same thing over.
Too much going on.
It feels bland. Really, it's nothing. Doesn't do anything unique. It just take the exact same formula, swap out new coat of paint, and it's a different game. Kind of what it felt like to me.
To be fair, I don't play all the Assassin's Creed. It was the first one I think I played since Black Flag, so... Or no, that's not true. I played some of Odyssey, and it was good. I just, for some reason, I dropped it. I don't remember why.
I may be misreading into it, and maybe just because of the pirate aspect, but it seems like a lot of people, the hardcore people that I see, Black Flag was like the peak of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That could be
the whole pirate aspect of the game.
I would agree with that. I think Black Flag. Well, it has less to do with the pirate thing, because I'm not like a pirate guy or anything like that. But I just think generally it was a good game, which is what they tried to make Skull and Bones the kind of spiritual successor to that, and it didn't.
Without any of the core gameplay that people actually wanted out of the game, which was the pirate ship stuff, which is just non-existent.
Yeah, you don't even get to do any of that, but. What I do find interesting is that they're the studio that's doing X-Defiant, and if you follow any of the multiplayer PC gaming popular stuff right now, X-Defiant is up there. It's a very popular. I'm not even a multiplayer guy. I don't keep up with it. I just recently, as of a couple days ago, played my first multiplayer game, like multiplayer online game with Modern Warfare 3. I streamed it 2 days. First time I played them, but X-Defiant is it's a very popular streamed game and very heavily watched game, so it's up there like on the Twitch charts and stuff like that. Apparently it's supposed to be like kind of like the old Modern Warfare games, I guess, like Modern Warfare 2. It's supposed to be something like that. That's what I was listening to something today where they were talking about it, and it's supposed to be that sort of concept, because that's like where people say is like peak Call of Duty is like Modern Warfare 2. So that's what it's supposed to be, and it's a very popular game. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. It just says the studio is now working on the ongoing support of Rocksmith, which I can't tell you the last time I heard anybody even mention the name Rocksmith. Like, that's the game where you can play with a real guitar, like not Rock Band. This is the one where you can learn how to play guitar.
Yeah, I had to pull it up. It sounds familiar, but I don't remember what it is.
Yeah,
was it like came out in 2014? Is that the last version of the game?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I thought it was dead in the water. I didn't know it was
could
like.
have been.
But apparently it says ongoing support, so that who knows what that means? Maybe adding in new music to the game.
Probably
from 2014. Yeah, nobody I knew had played Rocksmith, but it is cooler though. You do play with a real guitar, so.
No, that's cool. Also, because we're technically 2 weeks out from it coming out, Star Wars Outlaw. It's next Ubisoft's next. Everyone to call big game. I think that's Assassin's Creed, but this is the next one. Have you heard anything you've liked? Because obviously they've had people come out and talk about it, and there's always seems to be controversy around Ubisoft or just gaming in general. But have you heard anything you liked, you don't like about the game?
About Outlaws?
Yeah,
I think it looks like a pile of garbage, and I'm very uninterested in playing it. The more and more like I think about the game, we talked about like, because I don't care about what characters look like or anything like that.
Story gameplay.
It's story gameplay. It's story gameplay, but there is something so unappealing about that character design. I don't know what it is exactly. It's not really what everybody else is talking about. It's not that for me, because there's been plenty of like, I mean, look, like I'm a David Bowie fan, right? Like, I don't care what, the androgynous like sort of look or whatever, aesthetic, whatever you want to say. I don't care about that, but there's something so unappealing about the design of the character and the design in general. There's something about the design of the game that just does not appeal to me. Now it could end up being a great game, but I am so looped out on Star Wars, man. I am like sick and tired of Star Wars at this point. Like, legitimately, it was one of my favorite franchises ever, and I just don't care right now.
Yeah, from some of the stuff I've seen, it just feels like it's just not really creative. It just takes Star Wars and just kind of goes through the motions. Obviously, some people say, whatever they see, the gunplay doesn't seem there. It seems kind of janky with the speed biker, but it just feels like they just walked through the motions. But obviously, we're not really going to get mass appeal, at least from the gamers, as far as until this game actually releases. We only have the reviewers, and obviously when it comes from the game, they're all saying very obviously good things, but do they actually like the game, or are they just being paid to say good things from Ubisoft? Because about the whole what's it, access media, where it's you want to keep getting access, you got to say good things about our product type thing. So it's kind of hit or miss on that, but I don't know. Even if the game was okay and decent, I just feel like it's kind of like some of these other games that we talked about. It's probably just going to get forgotten about in time, because it's just not going to have that splash. And because of all the other Star Wars IPs, from games to the movies and the TV, it's just going to get put into the background and just like, oh yeah, that's a thing, and it's not really going to stick out.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, even like the last like Jedi Survivor, like nobody.
That was a really good game.
Nobody really talked about it much after it dropped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I liked the first one a lot. The second one, the second game I just kind of dropped. There was too much coming out. I didn't think it was bad. It just felt like more of the same. And then there were other games that came out, so I just dropped it. But again, that was a game where nobody talked about it after. Like, it came out and it came and went like nothing.
Yeah, it didn't have any like culturally staying power like some other games.
It didn't win any awards. It didn't.
It was like a solid like 7 or 8 out of 10 game.
Yeah. With
every other game, and that's just kind of where it's at. It was a good game, made a splash when it came out, because like, oh, it's doing something different as far as the games, but it was a good game when it came out and just kind of was forgotten about. But that could just be due to the Star Wars fatigue. Probably the same with Marvel. It's just like there's so much coming out. It's kind of hard to continuously being excited or to look forward to stuff.
Yeah, I don't care much. If I hadn't looked at any of the reviews, because I didn't know reviews or anything were out for it yet. I actually missed that somehow. But I don't know. It just doesn't seem super appealing to me. And the Star Wars IP itself is really kind of boring to me right now. I feel like everything's been done with Star Wars that can be done at this point. I feel like we need a Star Wars break like we used to get back in the day that made us excited about the next thing. We used to get breaks, We used to get breaks. We get like small little media here and there, like little small cartoons. Like, you remember that Star Wars Clone Wars micro series? I would be so excited just to see 5 minutes of a Star Wars episode.
If you mean like the one from like 2003,
Yes.
2004?
Yeah,
oh, the one that
was on
actually
Cartoon
predated.
Network. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The micro series. Yeah, I've got that on DVD still, actually, and I think it's fantastic.
It's just being cloned, pretty much just being a badass, because there's like whole section of scene where it's just action, no story, and it's just really
straight
good
up action, amazing animation, and like that was like a filler Star Wars thing for the next movie or the next game, or
it had such an impact, because it's been so long now. I do think that it had an impact as far as the Clone Wars series, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it did, because it straight up took some of the stuff that happened and put it in the news. Yeah, straight up some of the battle scenes were the exact same.
I gotta ask, because now I can't remember, because I remember seeing it in the last week or two. Is that the same series, if you remember, where General Grievous comes down with some Jedi's, Palpatine on the elevator, and the clone just immediately, just like nothing, just immediately goes for it, just like no questions asked.
General Grievous was a huge part of that show. Was the character I remember from, like, I instantly think of General Grievous when I think of that show.
Actually, I think
you should rewatch it. It's really good. It's like, and it's short,
I do remember the animated series doing far more justice to his character in the movies, where he was kind of like, he's there 100%. For a few scenes.
100%.
He's just gone. He's good in what he's there for, but he's just not there enough, and then they just get rid of him essentially at the beginning of the third movie.
What I loved about that micro series, and not to get off topic here, because I know this is what we're trying to avoid doing, so I'll skip through this real quick. But what I loved the most about that was we got to see more of General Grievous than I think we ever have. Up to that point, so. I think that was where we saw him the most, and I think that's why I liked it so much. So,
yeah, definitely. But I get on to the next thing, because I thought this was I saw this and it was more humorous than anything else. I've never played this game, so I'll just preference it with that. I've never even heard of the game till now. But the Roller Drome dev asked fans to essentially pirate the game. He essentially on X, so the Roller Drome X account pretty much said, hey, it's out now across the PS4, PS5, Steam, yada yada yada. Here's a trailer. They're just advertising the game. And this came out today on August 16th when he tweeted this out. But he came out and said, happy second anniversary to my favorite game that I worked on. Please pirate it, because none of us worked at the company that owns this anymore. And it was tweeted out by, Anzai Sanuis or something like that. I know I butchered this person's name. But I just thought that was humorous, where it's like a dev that's extremely salty, that whatever happened, that they're not part of the studio anymore. Like, don't support this game, because none of us that worked on this game, are going to benefit from you buying this game anymore, which is crazy.
That is absolutely hilarious. I think it's super funny. That game's actually really, really fun. I played it on either Game Pass or PlayStation Premium, one of them. I think it was Game Pass. I can't remember, but it's actually really, really fun. If you like Rocket League, you'll like that game. I feel like it's fun. But that's hilarious that a dev says, "Hey, pirate this because I'm making no money from it."
Yeah,
that's
like
so
we all
funny.
got screwed or something like that. That's what it feels like.
I think it's funny.
Okay, so yeah, it did come out in 2022. He tweeted this out today, but the game obviously came out 2 years ago. But apparently there's some issues, because apparently Take-Two Interactive shut down the studio, from what they said earlier this year. It's a British game studio. What they say, Roll 7 is the name of the studio. So apparently there was
it sounds right.
Probably some they were feeling really salty about what happened, and they saw this and they're like, screw it, pirate it. I don't care. None of us care.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's funny. Yeah.
Hopefully there's no. I don't know if nobody sees it or there's no like legal repercussions to it, but I'm all for,
pirating.
I hold a grudge. I can be really salty, so I definitely feel it.
Bear with me for just a second, Mark. 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Go ahead and move on to the next thing.
No, you're good. The next thing, I guess it'll take a little bit longer. I know Brandon's gonna be a little upset. I know we did have some comments here, Mr. Coffee, Marksman's pretty good. It's not a game, more of an educational tool. Yeah, I think that's what Brandon was saying. Slave to the Mind. We love Mark. We appreciate you join us. Rachael said, little smiley face and, said agreed, as well as welcome to the easy mode. We definitely appreciate y'all's support. And then Mr. Coffee also said that free-to-play Star Wars Hunters is also another lackluster game. So lackluster, I don't even remember the name of that title, but I probably have seen it before. But, I mean, Star Wars is just an IP that you can throw out there, and a lot of people aren't going to think twice, and they're just going to grab it and play it because, hey, it's Star Wars. I love the IP. At least until you do it so much that you burn people out and run the IP into the ground. It's always a possibility. But on to some other news. You had an analyst come out and says, hey, we're expecting the Switch 2 to come out Q2 of next year, 2025, and estimates the console will be below $500. So I saw this, and I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, everyone had been speculating a similar release. I can't speak. I feel like I'm slurring my words. I haven't had a drip of alcohol in over a year at this point. But moving on to the actual topic. Been hearing this for a while. Obviously, the Switch coming out in Q2 had been rumored behind the scenes, and I know me and Brandon kind of talked about it, but it, probably from what you're going to get and just general pricing, it just feels like Nintendo has to price it below $500. It just makes sense. And obviously, until they actually come out and release it, we're not going to know how valid these rumors actually are or are not. But obviously, more news is coming out about it, and we're kind of expecting that. They also, to preface that, they say it's going to be announced before the end of its current fiscal year, which concludes March 31st, 2025. That's when they, previously came out and said some of that stuff. So, but who knows? They come out, they say stuff internally, stuff gets leaked all the time, and then who knows? Nintendo could do whatever they want. But obviously, some of the rumors is, I got to pull this up real quick because this kind of ties into some of the stuff I was looking into as far as when the next Direct's going to come out and when we're expecting the actual Switch announcement to come out. I know Brandon's not here to miss this. But it's been rumored they're planning another Direct soon, along with a Indie Direct. So it's saying, hey, we're expecting 2 other Directs to kind of come along. Obviously, they expect the Indie to come out in September. September team, from what I remember, if I'm not getting this wrong, Brandon's not here to check me immediately. But I felt like every September we tend to get a Direct, and it kind of leans towards that Indie Direct. Or that's the time frame. Late. I guess September's technically fall, but late summer, early fall, that September window. Usually we get that next Direct after the one in the summer, as well as they're expecting the next major Direct and the one that would actually talk about the Switch 2 to come, in October, sometime the next month. But obviously, these are just rumors. We hear these all the time for the Switch. Like, hey, it's going to come out this month or this month, and some of it is we're going off history. Some of it's just general. Behind the scenes, either someone's making a rumor that has no basis, or they hear stuff behind the scenes. But similarly, this kind of feels like the same window that they did with the Switch originally. So we're kind of up in the air as far as like what to actually expect. I mean, obviously, we've been waiting for this for a while, so we're definitely I'd love to get this in 2 Directs back to back month. Less of a bigger fan as far as the Indie Direct, but that's just me personally. But if we get the next big one, say October, that'd be huge. And then we get the actual Switch 2, Switch successor, whatever it's actually going to be and actually be called. Get the information on it, release date, window, maybe some more game information as far as games that we're expecting to come out. See if my prediction of potentially the next Prime 4 actually being a launch title for it, which I definitely think would help benefit the Prime series a whole lot. But I think it's been a while since we had a big mainline Mario game. If we're going to get another Mario game at launch, which would make sense because there's just not been enough time for them to develop another mainline Zelda game, one of the big ones. So, okay, sorry. I was getting a message from Brandon. Apparently, some other stuff going on, so he's going to be away for a little bit more. But no, yeah, just some rumors, and I mean, September's right around the corner. We're a half a month away from September being around the corner. So, potentially 3 weeks away from the indie. I can't imagine it's going to be that early. But fall's right around the corner. I know it's right around the corner because, hey, 2 weeks away, college football's here, then the NFL's here. That's me personally, but on top of that cooling weather, I'm tired of this 80, 90 degree weather. But while Brandon does whatever he needs to do, I guess I'll hit some of this stuff back up when he gets back, get his thoughts on it, but just kind of keep it rolling because a lot of this was more like, hey, this is the rumored stuff, not a whole lot to really dive into it like super, super deep. Kind of winging it without Brandon here. Mr. Coffee said, so do you hear about some type of news from the Pokemon world? They announced some special news this Sunday night. No, I may have missed that actually. Brandon may have heard about it. I didn't. But there's a lot of news that Brandon catches and I didn't, but it's definitely worth looking into. What's it? Pokemon. I'm just gonna Google it right now. Because I remember seeing some stuff about the celebration or some Pokemon Go stuff, but I'm so hit or miss with that game. I kind of just bleed it out because I'm like, it's a mobile game. You get what you get out of it. Okay, no, I may be missing it, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye out. That's for sure. All right, some other fun stuff. Oh, man, it's so unfortunate Brand's not here. I definitely want to get his take on it. But we had some more, information about the new Dead Rising remaster come up, and if you want to call it controversial changes, but they're making more changes to the game from the original content, whether we liked it or not. But this big change was Cliff. All right, I didn't get his actual last name, but it had to do with the actual Cliff when you meet him in game. So apparently they're changing his. He's no longer going to reference the Vietnam War or communism in his interaction with Frank. Your main character, because apparently he's supposed to. He served in Vietnam and other things as part of, from what a lot of fans have said. Because I've seen a lot of gameplay. I've said it before. I haven't played it, but I was originally really looking forward to this remaster. That's like a game that I remember growing up that I just never actually got the chance to play, and I'll get the chance to play it. Though they just continue to make this harder and harder for me. Essentially, a lot of fans come out and criticizing the whole, because the interaction, because I actually went back and rewatched the whole clip with the interaction of the original. I haven't seen the one where they changed it. But he pretty much comes at, are you Viet Cong, you a commie or something like that? Because essentially having like a flashback. But they've come out and said it's changed to, are you a mole? You're a filthy animal and some stuff like that. And it just kind of feels not wholly necessary, as well as some of the other interaction from people around it saying it's like that's a core character to this person. Like why change this? It seems so like what are you trying to pull here? This seems wholly unnecessary. I don't know how much you caught of that, Brandon. Maybe dealing with some other stuff.
No, I just caught wholly unnecessary, something about
so Cliff in the new Dead Rising remaster, his interaction with the main character Frank, they're removing references to the Vietnam War and communism because he's supposed to. The initial interactions actually went back before we did this to actually watch the original clip where he's essentially having PTSD, a flashback where he's back in Vietnam and he sees him like, are you essentially like you Viet Cong or something like that? Or are you a commie? Is he it's like a machete, gonna attack him and stuff like that. And they changed that calls him a mole, you a filthy animal. And it's being criticized, especially by a lot of hardcore fans of the series, that's like a core characteristic to his background and stuff like that. And they just kind of generalized it to, he was in a conflict, but they removed references like to the Vietnam War and communism and stuff like that. And it kind of seems wholly unnecessary. It's like, why Capcom? Why are you making this change at all?
Because they're trying to be more appealing, and they want to appeal to that audience. That's why I'm not agreeing with. I think that is so stupid. I think we need to keep media how it was originally intended. Right,
it's unnecessary. But like the core people that are going to actually buy this game are the people that remember playing this 10 or so years ago when the game actually came out. Like those are going to be the core fans. Are going to be for one, the ones that want to buy it and be the most vocal about it, it just seems unnecessary. It's such a small. It's very obvious. It seems like it plays an impact to this character, but it just seems unnecessary to remove stuff like this.
Yeah, I think
so what you're saying is
silly.
Capcom really likes the Vietnam market. It's really important to them, and they are big fans of communism. That's what this says.
Look, this is entirely too dumb for me. I think they absolutely should not be changing the original media. I wanted to shout out though, Rachael, thank you for becoming a channel member.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate that. Join easy mode there on the channel. She also was nice enough to become a Facebook subscriber as well. So she's
even better. That's great. Yeah, I know. You were gone, and I was running through comments for a second. I
oh my
shout
gosh,
that out, assuming she's still here.
Lucas is in here. This is the first time I've seen Lucas in a podcast in ages. Holy crap! Thanks, man.
Yeah,
for
you step
out.
away for a second, and
I miss everything.
Blowing up.
But no, thank you, Rachael, for coming to hang out. Thank you, Lucas. I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Oh yeah.
We got Mr. Coffee saying, "What do you think of Legacy of Kain announcement for Evercade? Both games on one cart for $25. Definitely a day one buy for me." Yeah, I'm pre-ordering that immediately. I'm super excited about it. However, I love the Legacy of Kain games. However, they look like they're untouched and that they haven't been remastered like some of the other previous carts that have been released. It looks like they might just be straight ports, which is okay because Evercade's great and it's going to be the better way to play it. But it does look like they may be just straight up ports. I don't see anything about them being remastered, kind of like they remastered the Duke Nukem games, which was amazing. Those the 2D games for Duke Nukem needed a remaster bad. I was super excited about that. They're the PS1 versions on the cart. I'm just amazed that with those new carts that they have, that they're only charging an additional $5 for. They can outfit all these disc-based games on these cartridges, like physical carts. It's crazy to me. I think it's really, really cool. And I love that they keep their games so cheap. They're either $20 or they're $25 for the bigger games. That's it. They don't get any more expensive than that. So like it's an affordable system to collect for or just play. You know what I mean? I think Evercade's a great option for people who are on a budget or just want to play some cool new games they've never played. So I think it's great, but I do wish those games got remastered because they need the remaster treatment really, really bad.
No, definitely. And before we got on too far, I did want to get your take on it. I pretty much said what I want to do for the most part, but the rumors around the Switch 2 or the Switch successor, whatever it's actually going to be named, it's expected to release the rumors are it's going to release Q2 of 2025, and it's going to be below $500. And then on top of that, it was linked to we're expecting 2 more Nintendo Directs, a regular one and the indie dev. So they're expecting the indie to come out sometime in September, and the next one they're possibly could announce the Switch successor to come out in October, if that's the rumor at the very least. So like a back-to-back direct, an indie in September, and a main direct in October that would announce the Switch 2, Switch successor, whatever they're gonna actually end up calling it.
Let me look something up and see if I see it, because I swear now Nintendo's lied before, but when it's come straight from the president of Nintendo, like Nintendo of Japan, I'm almost certain that they said they were not making an announcement regarding the hardware now this year. But like I was still pretty dead set on saying, yeah, if it doesn't come out at the end of this year, it's getting announced for spring, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, can they hang on past another Christmas with the sales dwindling as much as they have? The sales are almost dead now at this point.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like what they were, I don't know, but these are obviously just rumors, or maybe whoever, stuff people in the industry just come up like, oh yeah, this is a good article. Hey, we're expecting this, and with like actual no proof. I've got no idea to the validity of these leaks coming from the actual media. So that's another thing. We don't know if this is just realistically wishful thinking, or actual like, hey, this is what they're planning to do. But I mean, even if that's what their original plan was, plans change behind the scenes. And because they haven't come out officially said anything, they don't have to like stick to whatever timetable that they may have internally. It could still be, somewhat flexible.
Yeah. So my thinking is that I've changed my mind for sure on this. I think that the Switch 2 is going to drop at $400, not $300. I feel like, because before a lot of people were like, no, Nintendo was never going to go above $300. Well, that's not true, because the Switch OLED is $350.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they're going to compete with the Steam Deck and they're going to compete with the Asus ROG Ally, it's got to, at minimum, I feel like, be at $400. I feel like it has to. And like and if it is competing with that hardware, like tech wise, I will happily pay that to play my Nintendo games with that tech. Like I will not be upset to pay the price that these other handheld PCs are going for if it, it delivers that Nintendo greatness. I mean, like, legitimately, if it does, then I'm for it.
You have to wonder if maybe this was the original timetable, but because of the announcement of like the ROG Ally and some of these other gaming handhelds, maybe wanted to reevaluate some of the decisions and change up maybe some of the hardware, which would inevitably have them push it back. Because, like, in theory, like if the Switch 2 is supposed to come out like in like say like 6 to 9 months, it already needs to be in production or early production for the actual hardware itself. Because that's going to take time for them to make, a few million units globally, for when it's supposed to come out. But I mean, I have no idea. I guess we're all just sitting here speculating, waiting for the actual announcement to come.
Yeah, it's like, I just don't know. It's hard to, we need some like new, like, concrete information, or like some pretty, like, 95% sure information. Although, I mean, like you said, below $500, okay, $400 then. I just cannot see it being below $400 at this point if we want something that has any sort of beefy tech in it whatsoever. And we know Nintendo is not one to lose a lot of money on their hardware, sometimes not lose at all. Like Switch V1, the first Switch came out, they weren't losing money. The Switch Lite, they weren't losing money. The Switch OLED, I think they're very minorly losing money. So they've got to be somewhere around the range where they're not losing much money or they're not losing money at all. So it has to be, it's got to be 400 minimum, I think. I mean, at this point, I feel like, what do you think, like, price wise? Like, could you see a $500? Because Asus ROG Ally, you look at that's $800 for the Asus ROG Ally X. I mean,
I guess it just depends, because it feels hard. I guess it comes out to, are they willing to release two versions of a console? One that's beefier, that's closer to 500, and one that's closer to like a 250, 300. That's, a little bit different. Because it's hard to think that they really want to charge $400 or $500 for their console. Like, that's expensive compared to what they've released in the past. At the very least, in the past, when they released something, maybe not the Wii, but GameCube or something like that, when they had a little bit more, they were more competitive hardware with, say they're trying to be with Sony or something like that. They still had a cheaper version, which would have been their handheld, like the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and stuff like that they could always fall back on. But if they're going for two different systems, they need to be mindful of the price tag, because they can't go extremely high on the console and not have a cheaper alternative to fall back on for other people.
Yeah.
And I still feel like they want to keep it lower compared to even what, Xbox and Sony or PlayStation is charging for it to I don't necessarily want to undercut, but what they're trying to do, keep the price lower, or they're trying to get creative with, a mixture of hardware, software, AI, or stuff like that. Or I think you mentioned DLSS. I don't know.
It's got to have DLSS.
Only time will tell. But I think regardless of the hardware, as long as the games look and play well on whatever they're doing for first party, I think it's going to sell. It'll sell well. Will it, continue to measure up to what the Switch is? More than likely not. But as long as they've got those good, solid first-party games, I think that's really all that matters for, especially the hardcore fans and everybody else on the periphery. Because to be fair, I think we've talked about it before. Most people get a Switch for Nintendo games, and that's kind of it. Maybe a little bit for the handheld, but obviously it's a mixture. People, if you want to play, third-party games on a really good handheld, you're probably going to go buy a ROG Ally. And if you've got that kind of money, it's not hard for you to save up another few $100s and get a Switch successor down the road. So
yeah, a lot of people that are doing that are going to be buying both anyway. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of those people. Like and I can't say I'm not one of those people. I mean, I've got all the current gen consoles and handhelds like the analog pocket because that's my thing. I enjoy it, right? So they are banking on a lot of people. Like I already pre-ordered. I didn't pay it off. I put 50 on it, but I'm getting the Zelda Switch Lite. I have to. I can't let it pass up again this time because I regretted it so much with the 3DS. So much. I mean, like, if I could go back in a time machine and correct something, it would be that, because that thing is just bonkers expensive now. But yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of Nintendo fans are rabid, right? Like they're super fans. Nintendo fans are different. Nintendo fans are just different. They're like Disney fans. They're like Disney adults, It's Nintendo adults. Like
I was about to say, they bought the Wii U. Of course they're hardcore fans. As I say, I've got a Wii U in the back, but that's just because I didn't have a Wii at the time for like the 3 Wii games that I have.
Bro, mine's hooked up at all times. What are you talking about?
I bought my Wii U a year before it came out, but I bought it because I was like, oh, I got some Metroid games on the Wii that I don't have a Wii to play, so I have to get the Wii U.
It's got a pink skin on it because it was free. I got the skin free, so whatever. It protects it.
Official. Brandon's favorite color is now pink.
No, not quite.
Kirby fan detected.
That's what I just pretend it is. It's a Kirby skin. You like my little Naruto there too that holds my Xbox controller? I thought that was pretty rad. Repping the anime there too. Yeah, man, I think it's got to be $400, and I could see what Mr. Coffee said, 2 SKUs. I could see a beefier SKU and then a lower end SKU, a $300 SKU. I could see this. Hear me out. I could see a $300 SKU for a basic model. So it'd be like the Wii U where they did 2 SKUs, but it was just memory, right? 8 gigabytes versus the, what was it? 32 gigabytes, right? They did 2 SKUs. They were significantly different in price, like a lot. Memory was expensive then. It was like, I want to say like $150 difference at launch, and I got the cheap one, of course. And guess what? The cheap, and I no longer have the, I've got the black one, so I've got the better one, but I want the white one because it's what I had. But the white one is rarer than the black one, which is the better model. The white one you don't see nearly as often, and I just want the white one because that's what I had. Yeah. So anyway, I could definitely see 2 SKUs for that. The Switch Lite, when did it come out after the Switch? Was it like 2 years in? Because
I was gonna double check real quick.
Yeah, we use the only console that let you play Wii games through HDMI. Yeah, I mean, like that was a big thing for me because I'm a major Wii fan too. So like that's one of the reasons that also stays hooked up is to play the Wii games. So, oh my, what if they release an all digital version and one that uses carts? What if they did? I wonder.
Yeah. So it came out in September 2019. The Switch Lite did.
So 2 years later. Okay. Yeah. All right. I could see 2 SKUs at launch. They did it with the Wii U. What else? Did they do it with anything else? I feel like the Wii U is the only one that ever get 2 SKUs at launch. I think that's it. I think that's it.
I'm not sure.
I don't remember. There definitely wasn't 2 DSs. There definitely well, unless we count SKUs of different colors for like the GBA SP and stuff. Like I'm talking like 2 SKUs, like 2 different, like there are differences in the SKUs.
Yeah, I think the color isn't enough of a difference. Yeah, it's just a different coat of paint. Because like most every other thing, like I think I only got one version of the GameCube, but the Wii, there's only completely different versions. But the one at launch, had the backwards compatibility, and they eventually took it away with some of the later releases.
Oh, there's 3 SKUs for the Wii U because there's the Wii Mini, which I have over here, the little red and black one. Yeah,
I knew for the main Wii, I know there were 2 versions because the later ones, probably from cost saving, they got rid of the GameCube backwards compatibility.
Yeah,
and then I mean, there's probably different SKUs for like the NES, the SNES, the 64. But I think a lot of those had to maybe deal, at least with the 64 one. I think there were different SKUs, but it was kind of like different colored variants of the actual.
But that was hardware. Later. It was later.
Yeah,
it wasn't at launch. At launch, it was just black.
I don't remember if they made different versions of the NES and the SNES. No, I mean, obviously there were different SKUs because there were wholly different versions of the same console in like the Japanese and the American markets. But they released, different months, or they didn't release at the exact same time. So maybe there's a technicality.
Actually, funny enough, I went to go try to make a trade for an NES Junior and the second model, the SNES, because those are what I want as my units to play. I don't want the original models. Like I've always liked the other models better for both of those consoles. I gotta do that though. I really, really want the NES Junior though. Man, I just want those consoles so bad. They're smaller, they're more compact, and I think they look better. Like I'm not saying that the original NES design is ugly, because I don't think it is, and it's what I had as a kid, so like I am attached to that design. But I think the top loader, the NES top loader, is way better looking than the original design. Yeah, and it's smaller, it's more compact.
I didn't have one growing up, but I'll say it: the NES compared to the Famicom is so ugly. The cartridges are just bulky for like no reason. I think they should have just brought the Famicom over to the US.
The boards are this big too.
Yeah, the cartridge is like the size of my head. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy how they did that, because Famicom carts are small. Yeah, I agree with you. The Famicom is way prettier than the NES, except the fact that it has corded controllers attached to the system.
I can't remember. Is it the Famicom or I guess they come out with like the Super Famicom was the next one?
Yeah.
Was it both, or one of those that the Player 2 controller actually had a mic in it?
That's the Famicom. The Famicom, yeah.
That's crazy.
It's really cool, but they're corded to the console. You cannot remove them. So if a controller goes bad, your console goes bad.
That's a minor thing, because I mean that's the era you have to be plugged in. But yeah, I get that.
No, you can't unplug. Is what I'm saying. You can't unplug.
Yeah. That minor design flaw, but still, like they were really cool back then.
Very creative.
I remember seeing that years after.
Earthbound and something else took advantage of it. I can't remember what the other. Yeah. We looked it up before. There were a bunch of games that took advantage of it.
I know of one because John turned did a video on it, and it's one of the really hard Japanese games.
I don't know. I remember looking up like 16 games or something took advantage of it. The Famicom library is massive, and if you like anime, there are so many anime video games for the Famicom. It's not even funny. What about analog NES consoles? I wish I had any of the analog consoles. But no, I unfortunately I passed on that train. I was against analog early on until the Pocket came out, and then I was like kind of all on board. Then I became kind of an addict. I wanted to get like the analog Pocket Noir, and didn't get it. And I kind of like the metal design. We reported on it. I don't agree with the price tag, $250 more just because it's metal. But I think they're really cool. But now I do wish I had gotten those consoles. I really, really, really do. I regret that deeply, not getting those consoles. They go for so much money now. But most of all is the Neo Geo console they did first before anything else. Like, I would love to have had one of those wooden Neo Geo consoles. But yeah.
No, I just wanted to say, because I found it, I didn't realize this. I guess the video is like 10 years old now at this point. But John Trun did a video on Takeshi's Challenge. And that's when I first realized the Famicom, because I guess there's a small portion where you're supposed to actually do karaoke, which is insanely weird and innovative at the time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I obviously, before we moved on, the Twitch chat just blew up all of a sudden.
Okay, let's
add Slave to the Mind, move over there. Jedi Kai, what's it? Lord Opus had popped over, as well as Tax Myas. I want to appreciate y'all, as well as Slave gave us a 100 cheers.
Oh,
the
thank
100
you.
bits as well. So definitely want to shout out. Appreciate that. No, yeah, just in like the last like few minutes, all of a sudden, oh wow, Twitch chat blew up.
I think Mark has gotten used to just not checking the Twitch chat, thinking, oh, nobody's
It's
there
hit or
anyway.
miss. Sometimes it's just not very active. So
It's definitely gotten better since we've become Twitch affiliate. Thank you very much for the bits. Appreciate that, Lucas.
No, definitely. But I guess moving on, I saw this. I think it was yesterday, and it felt like, or the meta AI, which I absolutely hate, but I get it. Or it's like, hey, here's a description of what people are saying down below. If those of y'all haven't seen it yet, but we got a new Elder Scrolls mobile game.
Oh God, what is it?
Dubbed the spiritual successor to Fallout Shelter. That's pretty much what they're saying. It's Elder Scrolls Castles, which if you've played Fallout Shelters, it's just a different version of that game with slightly more to do from what it seems like. But I saw that and like, oh, people are kind of divided. I go read through the comments. Everyone's just ripping on this game of like, oh, this is what you're doing, cash grab mobile games, and not giving us Elder Scrolls 6, which I am in the same mindset, but obviously it's a whole different, probably extremely small team that actually worked on this game. But it's like Blades felt like a complete failure, really boring game, and a very obvious cash cow. Like, what made you think anybody wants this game? Obviously, it feels like, and what it looked like, they didn't put a lot of money into it. Like, the graphics look like a cheap mobile game type thing, but it's like, oh, we announced a new Elder Scrolls game, and it's not a mainline game. Of course, you're to get a bunch of backlash. We haven't had outside of the MMO, we haven't had a mainline Elder Scrolls game since 2011 now. Like, we're pushing, like, what, 15 years at this point since Elder Scrolls 5 came out?
Yeah, it's
and
been...
every time you announce not Elder Scrolls 6, and we get the yearly announcements for Elder Scrolls Online, but that's usually done in a different format and stuff like that. But every time you hear something brand new and it's not that, it's going to get a negative reception.
I mean, like, look, I feel like there's nothing Elder Scrolls that could do good or make anybody happy except Elder Scrolls 6. Like,
yeah,
I just legitimately, I feel like we're past the era of getting an Elder Scrolls game on the N-Gage, and people caring. Yeah. I knew people that bought the N-Gage just to play that game because they liked Elder Scrolls that much. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah,
but on top of that, and I feel like this kind of goes into it because they're not obviously giving us, with this long wait, very easily, instead of re-releasing Skyrim a million times, you could give us remakes or remasters, at the very least, of Oblivion and Morrowind, two very popular games that people have been asking for years. Knowing it's been this long, you could have at least outsourced a remaster of these games. But I bring that up because the Skyblivion revealed new gameplay, the fan-made, essentially mod in the Elder Scrolls 5 game engine to essentially remake all of Oblivion.
That's
stuff I've been hearing about for years now, and they're
I love
slow
Oblivion.
work, but they're chugging along with it. And I think it's great. Like, they're adding quality of life, new UI, updated quest gameplay, stuff like that. Especially for those that have been following this game for a year, but I think it looks amazing for a mod. I mean, granted, Oblivion came out on, well, they technically both came out on the 360 era, like, hardware, but it looks amazing with mods and a slightly better version of the engine. I blanked on the name of the actual engine they're using.
Let me ask you, is it Unreal? Are they using Unreal?
No, it's built in the same, it's built using Skyrim, essentially. It's a really in-depth mod, essentially.
Would I be able to run that with a i5 4060?
I have no idea. I haven't modded Skyrim in like 5 or 6 years.
Like, let me ask you, because this could answer some questions for people watching or listening. Like, what would my limits be with new games? Like, would I be able to play new releases with a 4060?
I mean, with any current gen, with the 4060 for graphics card, GPU?
Yeah, for the GPU.
Yeah, you should be able to. it's fairly
1300 or whatever.
It might be somewhat limited on the like how high you can go with that. I'm a little bit less familiar with CPUs than GPUs. But I mean, at the end of the day, you could go through and look at the minimum like hardware requirements.
Well, yeah.
Just kind of look around.
But like in general, like what do you have? You have a 4070, right?
Yeah, I've got a 4070, and then I have I like an i7.
Yes, yeah,
like a 147K, I think, some around there. It's like 140 something.
Mine's 33 some K.
It's decent. It's got. I mean, it's not. None of my stuff's overclocked. It's all factory, and I actually had to get my CPU replaced because it was faulty when I got it. It broke within less than a month, and it stopped working. Like half the cores essentially stopped working. Because I think mine is, I can't remember. It's 24 or 20. I know it's at least 20 cores, which matters. But I can't remember. I'm not a hardware expert. I'm trying to remember here. I can't remember how much that it matters as far as gaming or just doing general processing work in the background.
Yeah, I was just very curious because PC, getting into PC is new. So I have the i5 13400F, 10 cores. And then
I could feel like you'd be able to play a lot of modern games. I don't know. It depends on how CPU heavy they are. Like I'm just not. I know a little bit. I know
like Elden Ring is very CPU heavy, and I know that Dragon's Dogma is very CPU heavy.
But I mean, given Skyrim's a 2011 game, I can't imagine it. The base Skyrim game not being that big of a problem.
Oh, well, I should be able to run that with ease. You can run that on a tampon. Yeah.
I assume this game isn't going to be. The mods aren't that demanding, but I have no idea. I don't know the mod setup and the hardware recommendations for Skype Living and stuff like that. How
much RAM do you? I'm going to upgrade to 64 gigabytes, but I've got 32 right now.
I guess I should pull up my whole system settings. Like I don't remember.
You don't know what your PC has that you built?
At the top of my head? No.
Oh, you didn't build it. You bought it pre-built, didn't you?
No, I built. This is my first one, but the last one I had, I bought it pre-built. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
So this is the pre-built that I am going to upgrade. It's for work, but I am going to upgrade some stuff as I can because the graphics card I know is not going to.
Okay. Yeah. No, I've got 32 gigs of RAM. I couldn't remember if I had 16 or 32 off the top of my head.
Yeah, 32, but I'm 100% going to upgrade 64 because when I'm doing everything I'm doing right now, I'm running at 78% memory with 64 gigabytes. And I also, you have to remember, I've got 10 tabs open on Internet Explorer. I've got OBS, I've got Twitch, YouTube Studio, and Discord all opened up. So yeah, 64 gigabytes is what I recommend minimum to any creator, especially if you do streams and podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, RAM's definitely important. I wouldn't go lower than 16, but
no,
unless you're doing a lot of like, unless you're doing like a lot of like video processing, you don't need to go all the way up to like 64. Because it really matters when you're like, trying to like render stuff and stuff like that. And since I got it pulled up, I do have an i7 147K, 3.4 gigahertz is what
you have an i7. Yeah, CPU is very important when you do content creation, especially on the editing side. CPU is very, very important. So
yeah, I feel like the CPU and the RAM are far more demanding.
Way more
when
it
comes to that.
Yeah, GPU doesn't really matter because you don't watch when you edit. You don't watch your foot. Like say you're editing a 4K video, you don't even watch it back at 4K. You watch it back at 1/4 of the quality. You can change it.
Yeah,
but like when I edit, I watch it back at 1/4 the quality real time while I'm editing. But we got off topic there again, so I apologize.
Hey, you asked the question.
I did ask the question with that one. All right, what do we got next?
We got.
We're gonna try to keep it a little more condensed tonight, so we can record our anime podcast finally. I know. I know.
Like hold 10 minutes off, but no, we had some Outer Worlds 2 updates. Essentially, the Obsidian CEO, Fergus, or I'm not even gonna pronounce Urquhart. Butchered this dude's last name completely.
Sorry, guy.
The Obsidian CEO pretty much came out and said, "Hey, development's kind of moving along smoothly." They revealed it back in 2021, but I guess the big thing, and this is the first time that I saw it. It may have gotten pronounced earlier, but it seems like they're still on track to have a release date for this game sometime in 2025. They've not expected any delays, but the rumor or the expectation is it's going to come out sometime next year. Which really they've been working on it for quite a while, because I believe the first game came out in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, Outer Worlds 1. And it's not a really long game, even with the DLC. It's, you could probably beat the game in like 12 hours.
It's a very overlooked game because we were getting a lot of space games at that time, and No Man's Sky like really kind of, it got a resurgence around that time.
Yeah. But this one definitely had the humor element to it.
Yeah, it's way different. In my opinion, it's different. It's very funny, very, very funny.
Yeah, and for better or for worse, the story gets straight to the point. It doesn't linger in a lot of areas. There's only 4 worlds you visit, before the DLC.
Yep.
So it's pretty straight to the point. Doesn't linger around. Obviously, that's some criticisms for people that wanted a longer game or be in the world longer. But it definitely tells its story. It gets to the point. Doesn't spend like any kind of JRPG. You're gonna spend 20 to 40 hours trying to get through the actual story. And I found it enjoyable. Obviously, it's not the longest one. It definitely left out on kind of a cliffhanger. So I guess we'll see what we'll go with the sequel. But I'm more curious as far as whether the game is going to be longer or whether they're going to go narratively with the story. Because from what I played with the first one, was very happy, very enjoyable with the game. I think I played through it 2 full times.
Oh wow!
And obviously, there's some interaction because you can be a jerk, a good person, or you can be a dirtbag or a jerk and stuff. There's character you can completely ignore party members. You can kick them from your party and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot you can do that I really liked with it. But I remember at the time when it came out, it was, hey, the Obsidian, the guys that the studio that actually made New Vegas, which was a really good
love it. I think
RPG, arguably one of the best games,
best Fallout
games. Yeah,
easily.
It's better than Fallout 4. I know that for a fact.
100%. I think it's New Vegas and 3 are the best in my opinion.
Yeah. And then you've got 4, the MMO Lite, and then you've got the 1 and 2, which are essentially completely different games.
Yeah.
Because a different studio wasn't Bethesda that actually made those 2 games.
Right. Yep. Good stuff. I'm excited about that. I really enjoyed the Outer Worlds. So, do you remember the game that came out? I would always get confused, but it's also a good game, The Outer Wilds. Do you remember that one?
I do. I have it on my Steam wish list, but I actually haven't gotten around to actually playing it.
I recommend it. I think it's very fun. It's not a long game either. It can kind of be as long as you want it to be, sort of. But generally, just playing through, it's not that long.
I've been close to pulling the trigger a few times in the game, but I just never actually have gotten around to it.
Yeah, you got more important things to do.
I got more important things to do than play video games in general, but still a fun hobby to do.
Definitely a fun hobby.
But we got some news from Valve about what they're going to support on their competition.
Okay.
So they came out and said it's obviously not going to happen at launch, but Valve came out and said, hey, we plan on optimizing the Steam OS on other handhelds like the ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go. So they're saying, hey, we'll come out and support our operating system on these other handhelds, because even without the hardware, that's definitely gonna beat the Steam Deck. Well, if you're still using the OS, you're buying games on Steam, we can still profit off of it. So why not, try to take advantage of it?
Yeah, I'm with you. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot more we could read. It feel like we didn't get a whole lot of news from them as far as the actual details, but they're coming out saying, yeah, we'll come out and support it, because unless I'm mistaken, these still use a version of essentially Windows to run their operating system on it. That's what it felt like. The Steam Deck. Well, if I'm not mixing up handhelds here.
Yeah. So hold on. I think Steam Deck is Linux. And no, Steam Deck is Windows, and I think that
it's my thought.
Asus is Linux, right?
Yeah, so if it's Linux, it's gonna be all the easier to just
it's
use a
open
different
source.
OS.
It's open source. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Which I
And
like.
It's not like Asus isn't making money off the hardware. You would assume they're making money off the hardware, but once you have it, you can do whatever you want with the software essentially.
Yeah, I will say I'm going to skip the X just because it's simply like a minorly upgraded version of the Asus ROG Ally normal, but I am going to 100% get an Asus ROG Ally 2. I'm already dead set on getting that over a Steam Deck 2, unless something changes where they are able to get above the specs, because to me, while if it were a console or like a normal handheld, not a handheld PC, I wouldn't care as much about like the specs. I would just get them both, right? Like Vita, 3DS. For a handheld PC, the specs do matter to me, because I do want to have the best experience on the handheld, because they are all PC games. It is a PC in a handheld. So like, I just because the access with the Steam library, it doesn't change anything for me. I'm going to get whichever one makes more sense, has the better specs, and if the price is right, then I'm going to get it. And I'm right now, I'm all in on the Asus ROG Ally. I've heard nothing but great things about the X. A lot of people raving about it. It upgrades the memory. I think it might have an OLED screen, maybe. But like some minor things that make it run, perform a little better, has more RAM and stuff. But the Asus ROG Ally 2, I'm curious to get some info on that and the Steam Deck 2. Because the Steam Deck OLED is appealing to me because I love OLED screens. Like the Switch to the Switch OLED, if you play handheld, it's unbelievable the difference what an OLED screen does without having a hardware change. An OLED screen it makes all the colors pop. You get the very deep dark blacks. You get the very bright colors that they're essentially, look at it this way. OLED basically fills in more pixels with more colors of what the designer kind of wanted to do, but can't do with an LCD. So it just pops. Like, it looks really, really good. So I imagine Steam Deck OLED is fantastic. I would love to own one, but I think I'd rather just hold out for a Steam Deck 2 or an Asus ROG Ally 2. Yeah, and the Lenovo is a no-go for me because it's just a streaming handheld.
Fair enough.
I've already got one of those for the PlayStation, and it's hit or miss if it works. So
actually, I do have a hot take. Thoughts? Say the next Steam Deck plasma screen.
Yeah,
plasma. OLED.
I'm out.
Screen burn.
No thanks.
I never had a plasma. I remember my brother having a plasma. And it's like,
do you remember the giant plasma? We had a giant plasma.
The problem was you'd have to play like a fast-paced movie because you have screen burn.
So
was
bad.
Problem. If you had you're playing a game where certain stuff just doesn't move at all,
we couldn't play
stuff like that.
We weren't allowed to play video games on it because of the burn-in thing.
Because there's certain things on screen that just
like
don't
a Mario,
really
that don't move, like a 2D game. You know what I mean? Where like certain assets in the back, like that blue background or the clouds, things aren't moving. So we weren't allowed, but
outside of the screen burn, I really like plasma. I think it was really good.
I think the motion blur is atrocious. And I'm a CRT guy. I've got 9 sitting over here where you can't see. 9 of them. I'm obsessed with PVMs, BVMs, and CRTs in general. But plasma screens, I have no nostalgia for that because I think they were so bad then. The movies look terrible on them. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyone in the chat saying anything positive about plasma screens?
Not yet. There's plenty of time for people to very obviously be on my side. Everything should go to plasma. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, whatever. Get out of here.
But before we obviously move on to the next section, we did get some news that a N64 Classic is getting a physical surprise. Shockingly, it's coming from Limited Runs, but they announced that they're releasing the platformer Glover for both the PS5 and the Switch.
Okay, that makes me excited.
I checked it now. It is up on their website.
No way. How did I miss this?
I think it just got announced, but it's for both the Switch and the PS5. It is $35 to pre-order now.
Well, I will be grabbing Glover. I'm very nostalgic for that game. Very nostalgic.
I definitely remember the game, but I don't remember ever actually playing it. But as far as the site goes,
you played it at my house. I promise. You played it here. I promise. I remember you making fun of it because we would say it was a Chef Boyardee guy.
Oh yeah. But it's $35 and they expected to ship right after the New Year, so sometime in January is, the ship date for this game.
Oh, that's funny. They did a physical for Humanity, and I just downloaded that yesterday. So I guess I'll go ahead and shout it out here. We've actually got a video coming. I haven't even told you about this. I collabed with another local YouTuber. He's got 3 YouTube channels, Matt Long 6. He was hanging out last night in the stream, and we did a VR collab. So I played his VR, 3 games on his VR, and we tried to see who could either get the best score or make it the farthest. And then he played 3 games on my PSVR 2, and same thing, right? So we did a vice versa. So it's going to be you got to watch his channel, you got to watch mine to get the full experience sort of deal. But Humanity is a VR game, so that's interesting. I just downloaded it and had never heard of it before.
Yeah, and then I just saw this, and it's essentially already sold out on limited run games. I didn't know you could sell out. But they were releasing on both the PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch. Persona 3 Portable Convention inclusive.
Yeah,
Convention.
Yeah.
And then Persona 4 Golden Convention. And every version except for the Persona 3 Portable on the Xbox is already sold out.
So the only difference is these have the Comic-Con exclusive tag on it, and they have a different cover art. The cover art's different. I just saw these. I'm like, that'd be nice to get, and then it's. I would have bought that if I knew, because it has San Diego Comic-Con right on the front cover of the game. That's.
I don't even care about that. I just want the games. I want the physicals.
The games they sold the games. They had open pre-orders for them, man. We were reporting on them last year.
I didn't realize it, or I forgot. I come back and saw this. I'm like, oh, they're here, but they're already sold out. Like, oh, what's the point?
Yeah, they had open pre-orders on those. Did you end up getting the Lollipop Chainsaw collectors?
I pre-ordered the standalone for the PS5. I just couldn't bring myself forward to pull the trigger on the 150 for the cheerleader edition.
I actually feel like that's a fair price.
I was trying to be somewhat fiscally responsible for myself, and I'm just like, I can't pull the extra $100 on the limited edition right now. I just that $100 could go to something better, and I'm trying to be a little bit more responsible with my money.
You gotta let me not forget that I have to get SNK vs. Capcom, the physical for that, because I want to get the classic edition, the one that looks like a little Neo Geo box, for the Switch. Don't let me forget. I can't get it right now, but don't let me forget.
I don't know when they quit ordering. So
well, it's got to be in the next month because it's been up already for several weeks. I want Toomba as well. I got to get Toomba as well. I think for that one I may just go with the just the standard though. Just grab the game. I really like that controller though, the Neo S controller. Have you heard about this controller before? It's a relatively new controller. So this company, what's the company called? I'm trying to remember. I cannot remember the name of the company that makes the Neo S controller. Anyway, it's a relatively new controller that kind of mimics like a NES controller, but with sticks and a D-pad. It mimics that feel of a classic controller. So you can play retro games, and it connects to your PC. It can connect to your Switch. It can connect to your PlayStation. It's Bluetooth. So it's really, really, really cool. I cannot remember the name of the company though. I should I actually am interested enough in that controller that I may even just reach out to them because I legitimately would love to check out. I don't care. I mean, I do care about that Toomba. The Toomba Special Edition looks really, really cool. I like that design. But the controller itself, I would love to check out that controller.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, you should definitely reach out to him.
Yeah, I might do that. I might see if collab on that or something. That looks like a pretty cool controller. So
yeah, definitely. But for the sake of not trying to go on too longer for the time.
Yeah, let's go and roll through everything.
Yeah. Did you want to hit the topics or just go straight to your little next section? I guess I should ask.
Let's go ahead and just are they quick, easy topics that we can go through like real quick?
I mean, in theory, yeah, but I mean, who knows how long you wanna spend on them?
All right. Well, what's the best anime-based video game? Do you think?
Did you have some in mind though? I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it right
yours. Okay, I guess it depends on like a straight anime game itself or a JRPG anime-esque game. Because I know we did this and I had a hard time thinking about what I actually wanted to use. But I think one of the better ones, I don't know if it's the best. It's kind of a toss-up for me between two games. One is a really old Dragon Ball Z game on the Game Boy Advance that I have. That I remember playing the crap out of, but that's definitely far more nostalgia if you want to go that way. I think it was the. I thought I had it pulled up for a second. It was one of the Gundam games on the. I believe I had it on the GameCube or the 360. But it was a mix. It wasn't like it wasn't like Gundam Breakers. It was the Gundam Dynasty Warriors games. Whether it's 1, 2, or 3, I can't remember off the top of my head. But I did have one of those, and I thought it was pretty fun. Played it at the time. I had no idea what a Dynasty game is, so I definitely failed to make, looking back, the easy goals, because I played the game since. I'm like, oh, these aren't the hardest thing in the world. Being like 14 years old, it felt difficult, but I was just Gundam slash down other mobile suits. That's really all I cared about it when I had the game way back when. As Brandon, did he finally find what he's looking for?
I grabbed 2 just because it was a little difficult, and it's hard. I don't have what I would say is I don't have the physical for what I would say is potentially like the best, in my opinion. It's not actually like the best anime video game, but in my opinion, I really, really, really love Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. I think is a great game, but I don't have it physically, unfortunately. But I will say I picked up 2 that I think are fantastic 10 out of 10 games in my opinion. And so this first one I actually originally played on the Vita and then got the complete edition that had all that DLC on the Switch. And it is Digimon Stories Cyber Sleuth. Really, really, really fun RPG. Like surprisingly like emotional. It brings out all the emotions in you in this game too. The story is phenomenal. But another one, and Mark actually bought me this, still very appreciative of this, because it's one of those experiences I didn't expect to have for this series, because I refuse to catch up on the show or the manga because there's too many. But that is One Piece Odyssey. I was shocked by how amazing of an RPG that this game is. If you like turn-based RPGs, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, straight up turn-based RPG One Piece with a really good story, and it is super cheap right now. I saw it 2 days ago at Walmart for $20 now. So worth it. So worth it. I mean, if you're a One Piece fan at all, like, you owe it to yourself to play this game. And I'm not even caught up on One Piece on the manga or anime, but I love the property and I've watched a lot of it. You know, I stopped around like 430 some episodes, and then the manga, I read several hundred chapters of the manga. But just phenomenal, and it looks beautiful, and I think it's great. It's overlooked in my opinion. Nobody talks about it, so.
Yeah, and then I went and just pulled what I was looking for, but it was the Game Boy Advance Dragon Ball game was the Legacy of Goku on the GBA.
Gosh dang it! I agree with you. No, I agree with you. I should have said that.
In some areas, or at least to me, it was difficult. But I remember one of the few games that I had on GBA was like, I just played the crap out of it. I definitely remember it, but I had to verify it was the first Dynasty Warriors Gundam game. Sorry, I hit my mic. That I had on the 360. So,
yeah, I like that game a lot.
It's got the ugly sticker stuff that it's not going to come off without a lot of work now. But
did you see Gundam stuff I sent you earlier this week, I think on Tuesday, that's all coming to Netflix.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm actually gonna watch them. I think we should do some of the anime podcasts on those because I have a easy way to watch them. It's up to you, but I love Gundam, so I'll happily watch.
Yeah, it's a lot of good stuff because I think it's the I know what you're talking about. We've been pretty much waiting for it for like a year now, I believe.
Yeah, while we're on the anime topic real quick, do you want to go ahead and announce the details about the anime podcast, what we kind of decided on as far as the info?
I mean, yeah, because we're kind of recording them, or assuming there's no issues, the plan is to record them after this, and then we actually recorded the last episode last week, but due to some other scheduling issues, that episode I'm gonna be able to get live on the Game Junction Network YouTube channel. Should be on Sunday. I think
just the Junction Network.
Yeah, just the Junction Network. That channel doesn't get a whole lot of love, but I'm gonna have that come out that Sunday, and then probably gonna have to settle on having them come out Sundays, which means we might be a whole week ahead on the recording. I might just have to double drop to avoid that for the most part, but that's kind of the plan. Mainly just because it's how the editing works. Like I have to get everything put together and done on the weekends because just not. I don't have the time on the weekdays to get
stuff. We do keep this shorter.
Together and edited.
Our goal time is an hour on these, but we said we're going to keep it open. If it is shorter than an hour, whatever. If it's a little longer than an hour, whatever. We don't care. We just our goal time is an hour, but if it is 46 minutes, like we'll run with it. If it's an hour 30, then we'll run with it. Depends on the topic, right?
But it's obviously going to be a little bit more edited. I want to do at least not super heavy edited, but I want to do a little bit of editing and stuff as far as the visuals, and then should be coming here as far as the actual proper graphics will be coming to that as well. The first episode or two might look a little rough as far as the recording, but
we should probably say the name though too, right?
It's I gotta pull it up now for a second to make sure.
You forgot the name of our.
I didn't forget. I just want to make sure I didn't mispronounce it. The Anime Junction Cast is what it's gonna be called. I just didn't want to say something wrong accidentally, so I just want to pull it up, double check. It's gonna take a whole 5 seconds for me to verify.
Are we doing? Did I say something wrong? I thought we were kind of just doing Anime Junction Casts. Right?
That's what I said. Anime Junction Cast.
You said the Anime Junction Cast.
Well, whatever. It's minor speech issue apparently.
No. So what's funny, real quick about that, is that we made the Anime Junction socials 2 years ago. We've had the social media for Anime Junction for a long time. Like when you were in the infancy of the podcast, we had the Anime Junction social media. So like it's out there.
I gotta go back and find the actual.
We didn't advertise it, but like it's there. So like
I gotta make sure I can remember the
we gotta figure
for stuff that I haven't touched in over a year.
We gotta figure that out. That's gonna be a problem. But it's interesting how having the plans for things like way ahead of time, and finally things are starting to plan out with this, because I think that I may be recording a podcast with somebody else now to add to the network, and it's also going to be pre-recorded. I don't know the details for sure yet. I'm hoping, because I don't want to have just one podcast on the network, kind of because this podcast is going to be a part of the network, but right now it's attached to this YouTube channel and Twitch. So Twitch doesn't matter as much. You can have the network and it be on there and it doesn't change anything. But when it is on a separate channel, it makes it a little bit different, but it's still part of the network. So it'll be our second show. Technically, it'll be our fourth show, but 2 are on hiatus right now, which there are episodes out for. You can watch them now, and they're audio and everything out there. Culture Junkies, and then You Heard It Here First. So those are there. They're just on hiatus, kind of on ice until I figure out what to do with that. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. So next topic we got, is portable gaming bigger than it was in the 90s? I meant to put 80s, 90s, 2000s. Because of the Game Boy, obviously.
There you go. I fixed it for you. Not that anybody can see it, but I fixed the notes for you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I'd say on a global scale, it's sorry, I got really close to my mic for a second. Far more popular now, but I think it was always popular in Japan. I think you could argue it's larger now, but it's always been, I feel like, larger in Japan where it kind of really started. Where obviously like the Game Boy was a big thing. I can't think of Neo Geo, it's the wrong thing, but the precursor to the Game Boy. Remember what I'm talking about? Those really old LCD games.
You're talking about the Tiger handhelds. Yeah.
No, it's not Tiger handheld.
Yeah, I'll show you.
I thought Sword had a different name. Press to the. I gotta Google stuff because I can't remember. Because it was I swore what I'm thinking of is a Nintendo made project. I gotta double check. There's a Nike commercial over on the Twitch.
Right.
No, because it was a Nintendo product. Same style of handheld, but it was Nintendo, not Hasbro that I was thinking of.
The Game & Watch?
Yeah, the Game & Watch. What I was thinking of.
I
couldn't think of the name. I'm sorry. I played some of the games, but I never actually had one. It's just like I knew what it was. I just couldn't think of the actual product that.
I had this hanging on my wall and I lost the tag, so give me a second. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, everyone gets it now. I was trying to think of. Because I remember those, obviously it's the predecessor, and those were always big in Japan. But I think by nature it's gotten more popular in Japan. But I think globally it's definitely gotten much bigger because the Game Boy for all intents and purposes where it really started. You have things like the Game & Watch and the other they essentially the same thing but different name for what Brandon had. But I think the Game Boy is really what it really took off. It's not the first, but it's the first that got popular on a mass scale. And then obviously you get the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, all the way to the Switch. Essentially a computer in your hand you can play any game on. Essentially that's what I would say. Just getting into the Game & Watch re-releases the Mario and Zelda.
Oops, I was grabbing that to show and I knocked stuff over.
Yeah. I think I played I can't remember which one it was. It was on I thought it was on the original DS, but it might have been the Game Boy Advance. Off the top of my head, I can't remember which one it was exactly. But they had some remake, or they called it reskins of some of the old Game & Watch. So there was like a Yoshi and a Mario game of the old Game & Watch, but essentially with a new coat of paint that I remember. I don't have the old cartridge. I'd have to look into it. But I thought it was one of the Game & Watch.
Are you talking about the DS carts?
Yeah.
I wish I still had that. They were Club Nintendo exclusive games.
No, it was before the Club Nintendo Game & Watch.
Oh, you're talking about the Game & Watch galleries for GBA.
Yeah, where they had the old versions and then the new coat of paint with like Yoshi and Mario. Yeah, that's
Game & Watch gallery.
Well, I had the old DS, which had both DS and Game Boy Advance. So I'm sitting here thinking like I played it on that, but I don't remember which side of the OG DS that it went on.
Yeah, you got it right. So I mean, I think just to answer the question, I think it's well, yes and no. I don't think it's more popular than it was then. There's no way the Game Boy is one of the best-selling units of all time. So I don't think handheld gaming is bigger than it was, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. But
I'd say globally it is, where it's especially if you think of where handheld's gone.
Well, dude, Game Boys, came out in Iraq and Afghanistan. All these they were everywhere. Like they were everywhere, and they're one of the biggest selling handhelds of all time.
But I think the general market's just gotten bigger. The kids kind of like when we were that young have grown up and continued to play a form of handheld. As far as younger kids that weren't alive or couldn't have played those games back then are also being exposed to that. I think
they're
by nature
massively popular now.
The market opening, and then if you really, I don't want to go down this route, but if you want to go down the mobile route, it 100% is larger.
Well, I did say portable gaming, so if you're saying that, then yes. I meant
it's a technicality.
Handheld gaming.
No, and that's the way I took it. But I would still just say by the nature of there's more people gaming now, and it's kind of grown. Obviously, the way in which you game has changed, but I'd say the market's just gotten bigger for it. So by nature, it's just bigger.
It's a massive market now. I would say I still think that it was bigger then, because you think back to like the GBA SP, just the Game Boy Advance itself, the Game Boy Color, like everybody and their mom had those handhelds. I mean, I just cannot imagine that the Steam Deck is selling more at, you know, like $600 than
maybe
a
not,
Game Boy Color was.
Maybe maybe not individually, but with everything else around it, I think it has, and just by the nature.
But
I mean, look at the Switch. The Switch alone definitely classifies as handheld, and it's about to ideally pass the PS2 or get really close to it in sales.
Right. I agree. Well, before we get into our big news real quick, we'll do the little show and tell. I don't know what you grabbed. I want to show what came in, like the new stuff I got, and then these are just my show and tell items that I wanted to show real quick. So I have a bunch of keyboards for video game systems, and the first one, they're all in box. The first one I have is the PS3. That's the PS3 keyboard. Really, really cool. And if I wanted to use this right now, I actually could use it as my PC keyboard. So it's got Bluetooth technology. It's pretty early. It's a Logitech keyboard, but I paid $20 for it. I found it, and I did not know that the PS3 got an official, got Logitech, a third-party keyboard meant for the PS3. So I thought that was really, really cool. But I also have the Power Board, which is the GameCube keyboard. No, this is not the one I need. I need the keyboard controller for, I need it for, oh my goodness, Phantasy Star Online. But this is the Power Board, and this is a Shark, or a Detail product. So the guys that did Action Replay. It's really cool. It's got a translucent, I'll actually show it real quick. It's a really cool looking keyboard, not gonna lie. I can understand why somebody would want to use this, but I want the keyboard controller. I actually need it for the Ultimate Setup videos that I'm working on. And this one I just don't count this one as part of that. But I mean, it's a see-through purple keyboard for the GameCube. I mean, you can't beat that. It's really, really cool. But I still need the keyboard controller. This doesn't suffice or, replace needing that. And especially for the fact that I'll actually be using it, because I play the GameCube online. It's hooked up right now with an Ethernet cable. And then the last one is the Shark Board keyboard for the PS2. And that's it for the keyboard. I have one more PS2 keyboard, and it's a keyboard controller, where the keyboard actually detaches from the controller. So you can use it as just a controller, or you can use it with the keyboard on it. And again, it's meant for games like Phantasy Star Online, stuff like that. But I have this too. The other one's loose and it's put away, so I can't grab that. That's the show and tell items. Before I show the new stuff I got, Mark, do you want to show what you have real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't bought anything in a few weeks. I don't think how relevant this actually is. I don't think it actually fits. I bought the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition on Blu-ray. Other than that, I don't have anything new to really show. I think it was like $30 at Walmart when I bought it. And I was like, oh, hey, they're the extended, not the theatrical, and it's on Blu-ray. Screw it, I'll pick it up. And then I was at the theaters like a week or two ago, and they're like, oh, coming, because one of my local theaters does the flashback cinema, and they just announced, like they did last year, they're going to re-show the extended versions of all the Lord of the Rings movies in my local theater. So I was like, oh, that's perfect timing.
Let me ask you a question.
I only got to watch the Two Towers last year.
Why does that not fit? Why would Lord of the Rings not fit? That doesn't make any sense.
It's just a little different. It's like, it was literally, I was like, I don't remember what I bought. I bought that on a whim because it was like
it's
$30
funny.
at Walmart.
Just yesterday, I sold my DVD copies of the Lord of the Rings movies because I don't care about DVD anymore. If it was 4K Blu-ray, I would get it. I wouldn't even buy them on Blu-ray. I wouldn't even buy the Blu-rays. I'd go 4K Blu-ray on them.
I don't even know. Do they even sell it in 4K Blu-ray?
Yeah, they do.
Well, I saw this at Walmart. I was trying to double. I guess I can actually pull it out.
Blu-ray to me is now like DVD. You know what I mean? It's that.
Well, I mean, it's not like it's just the disc. There's like 5 discs in this collection that they have. I just don't know if it's in the Blu-ray.
But I will say I've watched the 4K Blu-ray of Fellowship of the Ring at a buddy's house, and my God, the difference. Because I have the Blu-ray. That's why I sold DVD.
Oh yeah, it's 1080p.
The 4K is is beautiful transfer of the film. All right, so I want to show what new stuff that I got, and there's quite a bit. It's for different reasons. Very kind of interesting. So first we got this. We expected it, talked about 100 times. We talked about it when it was a rumor, and then officially got announced, and it finally came. And that is the PC link adapter for the VR2. And I legitimately am so excited because I finally have a desktop to use to actually be able to use this and try out those Steam VR games and any games I can play in VR on Windows. I'll be able to try out. I'm really happy and really excited about this. Like, legitimately super excited to be able to check out some PC VR games and not be stuck to just the PS VR2, built-in games. I haven't opened it yet, but I'm going to do a video of this. I'm going to unbox it. I may test in the video, see how it works, but you can see right here on the back, it's showing about Steam VR and advertising and all that. So really, really cool stuff. So for our audio listeners, this is the PlayStation VR2 PC adapter. Next, we got two things that I actually got. I told you about the collab I did with Matt Long6, and he gave me these. A Minecraft Creeper cereal box. Really cool. I collect the weird video game food items. I'm that guy. I've got a bunch of them at this point, but I thought it looked really cool. I'm not like a massive Minecraft fan. I'm like, like a mild fan of the series, I guess. But yeah. It's just really, really cool. It's a display piece, really. It's all it is. And that's all this is too. So I did not know this existed, and I am counting these towards a set. I knew of some other ones, but this is a code in the box game with the code already used, but I didn't care because A, I wasn't going to use it anyway, and B, I'm going for the full Call of Duty set, so I had never seen this particular set before, and that's Warzone Gilded Age 3 Pro Pack. So this is my first code in the box for the Call of Duty Warzone stuff, because like I said, I'm going for absolutely everything. So all those code in the boxes that came out, which is only a few, I'm getting those too. So I thought this was really cool, and it has the paperwork in there. The code's been used, but I got it in there, so nothing major. But look, the Call of Duty set, going for that is not expensive or anything like that, but nobody's done it yet. Nobody's done a full entire, all the versions of Call of Duty for every system, getting, Black Ops 2 on all 4 consoles, so yeah, really, really cool. Now, this stuff just came in today, and it was unexpected, and I would be lying if I said I did not shed a small tear, because I was not expecting it. I was like, okay.
Oh, awkward silence. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, you should have said something real quick. I'm sorry.
I wasn't prepared. I was trying to you send a message real quick, and you stepped away. It's like, oh, I was not prepared.
Oh, so real quick, I'll show these ones. And then I have another really amazing, absolute crazy thing. So I was sent out a bunch more EverDrives to use, because there was the conversation. It's because of this podcast I said that I wanted to have an EverDrive in my GameCube Game Boy player, have one kept in there that I don't have to remove, have one in my micro and my analog pockets. I said, so I don't have to keep, digging stuff out. I'm not going to remove them. Well, sent me out 2 of each. The Game Boy. Oh,
he drops it.
2 of the Game Boy. Sorry. GBA and Game Boy. A Turbo EverDrive. So for the Turbo graphics and PC Engine. Another EverDrive for the Game Boy. And then another GBA EverDrive. So I can have one, leave one in my GameCube player, finally, Game Boy player, and then leave one in the pocket and leave one in my actual Game Boy Micro that I play. And then the FX Pack Pro for the Super Nintendo, and it comes in a beautiful translucent red. So I play all those beautiful, wonderful translations that have come out for Super Famicom games, and obviously play Super Nintendo too. But there are a ton of translation patches for, you know, RPGs that came out in Japan. There's a ton of anime video games for the Super Nintendo, like the Super Famicom. There's a ton out there, and a lot of them have translation patches. So that's where the EverDrive comes in handy. You want to play on your original hardware? Can't recommend it enough. The last thing, this is this might be one of the most unique things ever that I've seen in being in the gaming scene. So this is from Broke Studio. They sent this out to cover, so I'll have a video coming out on this. I'll show first what came in here. So they're an indie developer. They sent me a Broke Studio coaster that's got a Famicom controller on it, and this really cool. And for our audio listeners, head over to the YouTube so you can actually check these out, because all this stuff is really cool to see. They sent out a poster. Most of these I have covered and been sent codes out for, and it's one of those like old fold out posters that showcase a bunch of games. And you've got stuff like Super Tilt Bro, which is what we're about to show off. I own Flea for Sega Dreamcast. It was a homebrew game, or an indie game, and Tapeworm. I was sent those games out for Dreamcast. These are the NES versions. And they even did Famicom games. You can see here Famicom games as well. So really cool. But this might be, it is for sure the most unique NES cart ever created. 100%. This is Super Tilt Bro. So this is basically Smash Brothers for the NES, but the crazy thing about this is it has a Wi-Fi chip built in to play online on your original NES hardware.
That's crazy.
Absolutely insane. And there are people constantly playing it. If you go on X, there's a community for it. There's a Facebook group for it. There's a bunch of community chats for it. So you can find people. But you can see here where it shows it's an 8-bit Super Smash Brothers clone. And that is so unique to have added. This was a Kickstarter project, and they sent it out to me to cover. And I was like, oh my gosh, online matchmaking, like what? On the NES? This is crazy. But guys, please go support Broke Studio. This is really cool. I mean, first of all, it's already cool that it's a Smash Brothers clone for the NES, but the fact that it has a Wi-Fi chip built into the cart is just mind-blowing to me. So I thought that was really cool, and that's all I've got to show for that for this week.
It's definitely dope. Sorry, I haven't done a whole lot of shopping in a while.
Well,
go back to my
Biz
Amazon
Media
shopping
reached
carton.
out, so you'll have some stuff to show pretty soon. I actually spoke with one of the marketing directors. They called me, so yeah, got some cool stuff going on there. I haven't got to talk to you about it yet, but you'll be excited. That's the Mark's Alley thing. He's going to have to make the time for that. He's got to force it in, but it's going to be cool. Super excited. And then I guess I'll do my game real quick before we jump into other stuff. Super fast, super simple. My Hero 1's Justice, My Hero Academia 3D fighting game for the Nintendo Switch. Bandai Namco game. It's really fun. However, I don't have it yet, but I would recommend you can basically skip this game. Aside for if you care about the story, the mild story that's in this game, it's very mild. There's a My Hero 1's Justice 2 with more characters. It performs a little better. And it's super cheap too. You can still get it for $20 or less. I paid $20 for this new about 7-8 months ago. You can get the sequel to it for $20 as well. So definitely check this out. It's really cool. It's rated T for language, mild blood, mild suggestive themes, violence, and language again, apparently. So yeah. All right, what do we got next, Mark?
We got some news on a new Halloween game using the Unreal Engine 5, and it's rumored that John Carpenter is intimately involved, in quotations.
Yeah. We're actually
so
getting
about
two.
This?
We're getting two Halloween games. We're getting a 2D game, and then we're getting this other game. I'm a massive Halloween fan, so I thought this was really cool. However, John Carpenter can only be so involved. He's very old.
Yeah.
He's very old at this point. So I don't know how involved he actually is, other than maybe like storyboarding the game. Or I mean, Halloween could translate to a video game very, very well if you think about it.
I mean, we've seen games similar to it.
Well, my prayer is that it's not like Dead by Daylight, which I think it is going to be, because I don't like those type of games. I'm not a fan. Friday the 13th, one of my favorite properties. The game itself was like very mid to me. It was just okay.
Yeah.
Dead by Daylight, don't like it at all. Can't stand the game. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, very mid. It was the same type of game.
Those are more like I don't know, you call them live service or online games. It's just like a PvP type style game where it's like what you have like one villain and like what 4 or 5 people trying to like escape. So it'd probably be better if it was more like single player. But I mean, you could pull it off. I mean,
it could pull off a single player game. I'm telling you, I could see this getting pulled off as a single player game. But my guess is this is going to be a Dead by Daylight clone, and the 2D game is going to be its own, unique game. I
mean, they could just follow essentially what Resident Evil does, or Dead Space, or the old Silent Hill games. I mean, like horror games have been done fairly well before.
Yeah, it could pull off a Dead Space type game. I mean, like, imagine in single player having to maneuver around without either Michael seeing you, or like you're going through the story beat and you haven't got to where Michael would appear yet, but you're sort of running through all of Haddonfield, and it could be its own unique news story specifically for the game, or it could be a straight up 1978 clone of the movie. But what I think is actually a little more interesting, because I'm afraid the other one's a Dead by Daylight clone, is that Boss Team Games announced 2 16-bit platformers based on the Halloween and then also Ash vs. Evil Dead. And there are trailers for it. Mark, have you seen this trailer?
I haven't. I didn't hear about it till
you got
earlier today.
You got to look up this trailer. It looks really good. Whether you like horror or not, it's a 2D game, and like the horror is, you can only go so far. But the trailer that I'm watching it again right now, it looks really cool, man. Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah, it looks really neat. I love new retro style games. Yeah. What's your thoughts on these though?
I mean, I think they both look good. Or not look good, but I mean, they both could be fairly decent. Obviously, because you said the other one was the Evil Dead game, right?
Yeah, Ash versus Evil Dead.
I struggle to call that horror.
It's more comedy.
That's what I was about to say. I remember watching the original Evil Dead movie. I thought it was called something else, but like the original one with him.
It's just called movie. It's just called Evil Dead, but there's 3. You're thinking of Army of Darkness, which is the third movie. It's the third movie in the franchise.
I might be getting stuff mixed up, but I was like, that's
the most comedic one. Yeah, that one. It's actually is my least favorite of all of them.
I really like that one.
No, it's not bad, but it's my least favorite because I don't like horror comedy in general. I don't think horror comedy for me, like as a person, mix well together. Like I like. So you're not a fan
of like scary movie?
It's fine. It's nostalgic. I watched it when it came out. Scary Movie 1 and 2 are good, but I do not like Shaun of the Dead. I'm sorry. People get mad at me, but I'm not a fan.
All right, well, we can't be friends anymore. I'm sorry. That's a line too far. Shaun of the
British
Dead
humor doesn't
horror comedy.
It just doesn't capture me. British humor is not funny to me.
I didn't even necessarily feel it. It just felt like a nice spin on the original movie. I thought it was just funny. It's such an iconic comedy movie at this point.
It is very iconic. I'll give it that. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not for me. But the Halloween 2D game, dude, it's Splatterhouse, straight up Splatterhouse as Halloween. Like, it looks so good. You're literally chopping everybody to bits. Like,
okay,
so now, cool.
Can this Halloween game be me as what's it? You said it's Freddy for Halloween. I'm not getting these mixed up because I'm not a. It's
Michael Myers.
Is it Michael Myers in Halloween?
Yeah, dude.
I'm not a horror fan. Like I don't.
I know, but come on, man. You gotta know that. That's pop culture.
I'm not a horror fan. I don't know this stuff.
We're gonna learn today.
You should know that. I probably not. Okay, now this Halloween game has me playing as Michael Myers.
Yes.
Would seriously look into it. Like, oh, I'm the villain now. Yeah,
and it's like obviously it's not scary. It's a 2D game where you're playing as Michael Myers and chopping everybody to bits, and it's like a 2D platformer.
I want to be the villain at that point. Like I am the horror. You're gonna be afraid of me. I want to get creative in how I kill NPCs.
Dude, it's so cool. It's seriously very, very interesting. I think it looks really cool. The Ash vs. Evil Dead one looks like the same kind of game, but it has guns too, which I think is really, really cool. And I'll definitely play both of those. I'm hoping the other one is not a Dead by Daylight clone, but I'm pretty certain that it is.
Yeah, it's definitely a good chance it could be.
I mean,
just based off where the industry itself is at, it wouldn't surprise me.
I'm sorry, I'm just not there to support live service games anymore. Like, if something really, really, really looks interesting to me, I'll play it. But my morals do not want to let me support these live service games that are making people lose their jobs because these companies are investing so much money into these failing games where there's already a staple. Warzone, Fortnite, what else? I mean, those are the two big ones.
You've got a bunch of MMOs and Final Fantasy Online, Elder Scrolls Online, the big one.
Well, I mean, I guess Overwatch 2 as well, sort of.
I guess technically, yeah.
But I don't hear anybody talk about it. That's just me. But it is popular still. But I mean, as far as like shooters that are, are like games like these type of live service where you can buy, dude, I forget how much it was, but you can spend like 10 grand in Dead by Daylight getting stuff in the game with microtransactions. See, and I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Do you consider MMOs like World of Warcraft to be technically live service games?
Yes, but they make sense as a live service game. Like that to me makes sense. They've always been there. They are the beginning of live service games, but we didn't have a term for it yet. Because there's no offline single player mode. You have to be connected online, so therefore it is live service.
Not something like Destiny or Destiny 2, which most people I feel like play it more like a single player game outside of some of the raids at the end type thing. But no, I kind of agree with you on that. I still think technically MMOs are their own thing, where a live service game feels more like it's a single player in an open world game.
Yeah, I get it.
It feels like it shouldn't. I should just be playing a single player game at that point.
Yeah, I get the separation because they've been their own thing that have always been there. You know what I mean? Like they've been there for a long time. So I get it, but by definition, they are a live service game. But I do think they are, very different from the live service we come to expect and hate now. I mean, like things like even like Rocket League, right? Like it's a great game, but like the thing is like, first of all, that money you spend on the game, when that game is no longer around, what a waste of your money.
I mean, technically there's some stuff you can do offline, but it's just you versus NPC bots, which are useless.
I mean, yeah, at least it does have that, but like, is that going to...
The game will pretty much be worthless, unless you can host like a fan server or something like that.
Which is potentially possible, but I think the company for that could come after. And it's a little different than like Pretendo for the Wii U, right? Like, because that's
the game would have to be shut down to be realistically to get away with like fan servers. Like they're not making money off the game anymore.
But I appreciate fan service because I can play Phantasy Star Online on my GameCube, Dreamcast, Xbox. And like these are being kept alive, so I really appreciate fan servers and fans like taking charge of games that are no longer around. I'm all for it for sure. I mean, like the Pretendo stuff for Wii U and 3DS is absolutely bonkers. That all of that can be brought back, including Miiverse. Like crazy, man.
That's crazy.
All right. What else we got here to as we wrap up here in the next few minutes?
Yeah, and I had some Paramount Television shutting down some of their studios, cutting back. They said they're laying off. Paramount came out and said they're laying off 15% of their employees in the U.S. Let's try to pull out an actual hard number real quick. Or they just say 15% and they didn't actually give us an actual hard number. It's what it's starting to look like. We're laying off a percentage that doesn't mean anything without the actual numbers behind it.
Yeah, yeah, but I did think it was interesting because it is a massive studio.
I had to dig through like 2 different articles that reference another article, which is just lazy writing. But they're laying off about 2,000 employees.
Wow, I mean that's a lot of jobs.
Yeah. They have to be losing money somewhere. I don't know.
The movie industry is got to be losing down like games are in a certain way because they don't have theaters the same way they did 10 years ago.
Well, to be fair, they've been putting out trash movies for like the better part of the decade.
Look at Borderlands. I mean, that's absolute, whether that was a video game movie or not, that like it doesn't even look good.
You talk about the theaters dying. I disagree. I think you just been put out bad movies because you look at the Wolverine Deadpool movie. That they broke $1 billion in sales on that movie, and it's only in theaters right now. So like, there's definitely people want to go and watch movies. You've just been making crap.
Certain movies, but I agree, crap has been coming out, and that's a problem.
The other problem with the Borderlands movie is it took them 10 years to make that movie.
Yeah, it just looks atrocious. Like I don't even have to watch it, and I can go ahead and say it's bad.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, but we want to watch it so we can talk about it, but you never gave me a definitive answer on going to go see it so we could trash on the movie. So like, therefore I have not gotten to see it. I've been waiting to hear from you, and I'll tell you what, this guy, I don't hear from him the entire week, not even one message when he's, got a minute and pooping on the toilet. And he's also giving me a glaring look, like a side face look. Yeah, so that's unfortunate, but I feel like the movie industry is hurting in a way that the games industry is as well, in like a certain department. Not that they're not making money, because video games are bigger than ever, but that jobs, right? Because AI. Let's be real here. We're reporting on this twice this week of jobs being lost because AI can do that job better than those people can do it for free. So why would the company not take advantage of that?
I mean, who wants to deal with the headache of, this, I need you to do this for me, X, Y, and Z. You need to pay me X amount of money when this server just does the job easier. And it's just,
you got vacations to pay, insurance.
Not everyone's going to get cut, but most of them are, because AI just needs a few people to make sure it's not, messing up. You need to go through, verify the work and stuff like that. And you need far less people to actually operate it.
Well, and every single day it's getting better because people are training it. It's actively.
Yeah. So
they use, I've studied deep into this, listened to 2 podcasts. One was Joe Rogan, the guys that created, what's it called? Chat. It's not Chat GPT, like the actual program, I think is just called Chat AI or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, they're the guys that made it. And like, so I've looked into it a lot, and every single day, every time a person talks to it, it's being trained. So people are training it for free every single day, millions of people. And then they've also got AI that's training itself. They got AI running against AI that's so it makes better sentences and seems more realistic and more normal and less emojis and less, of the same words used all the time. I can tell when something's AI immediately. Text, not pictures. I can tell you if it was made with AI in 2 seconds. Emojis and the words that it repeats all the freaking time. So.
Oh, no, definitely. Just AI is going to take over the world, man. Skynet, it's coming.
Don't scare me like that.
What we got next? The next of the big news was the Hi-Fi Rush game studio, Tango Gameworks, was acquired by Krafton, which is a owner of Xbox. So that game is now no longer, what's it, a ship without a port or without a captain or something like that?
The ship without a port or a captain. This makes me super happy because we knew that a game was like in the what's the phase, like pre-planning phase, like they hadn't started it yet, but they were pre-production. They knew it was coming. This makes me so happy. It's such a beautiful game. It's so fun. Like I'm very thankful that another studio is doing this and picking them up because that needs a sequel. It is such a good game. And it's cheap, too. You can get the game cheap. It's so fun. Any comment there?
Yeah. No, yeah, sorry. I didn't expect you to just stop right there.
I think you're like watching anime or something while we're...
No, I'm just trying. I was trying to read some other stuff real quick. But no, I think it's decent, and it's still, the problem is it's a game I still need to play, so my notes on this one specifically are somewhat tamed as far as the game itself.
Sure.
But, I mean, it's glad that the game found another home, and it's we're going to continue to get more games on it.
Yes.
After Sony decided to just flush it down the toilet.
Yeah, I'm very thankful that we're getting that opportunity to be able to get... I'm sure the sequel is going to come now. I'm sure. It did very well. It captured audiences. It was like a... kind of like a cult classic already. Like, people love it.
Yeah, from what I understand, yeah. Unless this is a classic bait and switch. Xbox buys it, we want the IP, and now we're just going to get rid of the studio. There's always a possibility.
Well, I sure hope not. All right, what else do we got?
No, I think as far as the major news, because two of the other things we technically talked about a little bit earlier. Some of the other notes that he had was the Rachael Lillis we talked about at the beginning, and then we talked about a little earlier about the Ubisoft cuts that she had that we accidentally talked about a little bit earlier than intended, but hey, it is what it is.
It's all good.
Yeah, so unless there's anything else you wanted to hit, go ahead and start wrapping up the podcast.
No, I mean, I feel like there was something else, one more thing that I did want to mention that I saw pop up that I thought you would like. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
The Black Myth Wukong reviews are out. Yeah. I wanted to mention that because that's going to be a big game too, a very, very, very massive game. A lot of people talking about this game. I see a lot of people talking about it. Reviews are out across the board, and it looks really fun, man. Like, it looks really fun. This may potentially be a day one pickup for me because it, like, the beast designs in this game, like the massive beasts that you have to take down, the gigantic tarantulas, like it just looks so good. It has that Japanese fantasy element to it. Or is it Korean that I'm thinking? It's got that sort of... I think it's either Korean or Japanese
It's made by Game Science. I was trying to double check. It might be Chinese. No, it's Chinese. It's Chinese game studio.
Regardless, it looks phenomenal. Like, so shockingly, it wasn't on my radar for this year, really. I knew about it, but...
This game comes out on the 20th, so it comes out on Tuesday, which is a weird release date for a game.
Yeah, that is really weird. Are you going to get this game? Because this is something right up your alley.
Yeah, it's on there. So they announced its releases this Tuesday on the 20th for PS5 and PC, and it's coming to Xbox Series X at a later date, but there's no actual date for that console. So if you're on Xbox only, you're kind of...
I would have wanted to play it there.
But man, PC's the way to go.
The creature designs, like just the fur. I'm looking at a little fight scene here with this gigantic werewolf, and my god, the design for just the hair looks so next gen. Like, this might be one of those games to really show off this current generation of hardware. I mean, looks so good. I'm watching GameSpot's their video review on YouTube, looking at it, and the fight scenes are crazy. It gives me a Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Monster Hunter / RPG, like, all mixed together is what those are the vibes that I get. And Stellar Blade too. Game. I feel like I get a little touch of Stellar Blade there. based on the gameplay, it feels like all those mashed together. So, I mean, to me, it looks really good. I don't know what reviews say across the board. I didn't look at all the reviews. I think
it looked like it was getting about an 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
like a 4 out of 5 were like the average reviews that I was looking from critics.
Yeah, that's good. So I mean, that's really good. To me, it looks like an 8 or 9 out of 10, like just based on looking at it. So that sounds about right. So I'm happy to hear that it's getting good reviews and that this game is going to blow up.
Yeah, the only frustrating thing, and this is only because I can only pull this up it's for Steam, so I don't know how it's going to be on PlayStation or Xbox, but it requires at least 130 gigs of free space.
Dang.
So it's a big game.
But maybe for good reason. Maybe it's a big game because it really needs that space. Yeah. The creature fights it reminds me, like I said, Zelda, Monster Hunter, and like, I don't know, maybe like a traditional JRPG all kind of mixed together. It's not a turn-based game, but like it gives me all of those vibes put together. And like Stellar Blade 2. So yeah, I think that's all I've got. Is there anything that you wanted to mention to close out?
No, I think I got everything that I wanted to earlier on in the show for the most part. Obviously, the big thing was the Elder Scrolls stuff. That was a little frustrating, but
yeah, for sure. I mean, well, and then of course Rachael and things like that, and definitely pay respects to her and her family, and hopefully they get through this hard time because it's not easy. Too young, but we appreciate everybody watching or listening. If you are listening to the audio on any of the platforms, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Castbox, Amazon Music, TuneIn Radio, which is the Tesla built-in podcasts. We're on everything. We're on, like I said, counted 25 plus podcast platforms, and we charted on Good Pods for 6 categories, which is crazy to me. But if you are listening to audio, please go over and check out the YouTube. It's youtube.com/@GameJunctionMedia. We're also going to be launching the Anime Junction cast here real soon, so you can find that at youtube.com/@TheJunctionNetwork. And of course, social media, super important. Posting every day on all platforms, and Facebook gets at least 5 to 10 posts a day. So definitely go and give a follow over there. We're really close to 14,000 followers. It's pretty awesome. But you can just hit the link tree in our bio. It's on the audio podcast in the description, and if you're watching on YouTube, it's also in the description. So I think that's it for this week. We had a great episode for 96. 4 episodes away from 100. We got to figure out what we're doing still. We're running out of time. It's flying by, so I'm a little nervous, but like I'm super excited. So we appreciate everybody watching. We hope that have a great week, and definitely be sure to download the podcast episodes because it helps out a lot on those audio platforms, and leave a like and comment too because that's what YouTubers have to say. We'll see y'all later.
Yeah, see y'all later. Peace out.